Hotep everyone! Welcome to today's quick tutorial. I am His Majesty Ra Smubafagbemi, the world's first openly African black gay king, and the role of a king is to nourish and protect his people. And we are today on the eve of the summer solstice ending, which is December 24th, 2020. And I pray you're all having a fantastic summer solstice and wishing you the best for the return of the light on December 25th. I wish to use this time to go through what's been big in astrological news, which is the great conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, what we call Harukapet and Heru Abshatawi. Heru Abshatawi. These conjunctions, which we shall look at here, these conjunctions occur, we see here, Jupiter, Saturn, they're so close they're even overwritten. It's occurring in visual Capricorn, here at the nose of Capricorn, and towards the back of Sagittarius. These conjunctions occur every 20 years, and they have been known since time immemorial to trigger world events, to create a whole new zeitgeist for the planet, for humanity. So it's very important to watch what these two planets are doing when they conjunct. Okay, so I'm going to do something a bit risky. I don't normally prefer to go in this direction, but I'm going to give an in-depth tutorial on how we look at this from a more Kamau astrology point of view. I'm not aiming to target this video for just general understanding. I'm going to give more of an in-depth insight as to how I analyze deeply a particular configuration. Okay? Now, the first thing to understand is, again, this is a 20-year cycle. So these are the two largest and farthest planets that are visible to the naked eye. So they're very powerful. I call them juggernauts. And they set the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, for about 2 decades. And they have a great effect on political, social, religious events. Things in the government shift when we have this conjunction every 20 years. They say that fashion repeats every 20 years. We see these patterns of 20 years in human cultures. So what does this mean? First, we look at the planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Now, the first thing I wish to make clear is we have two planets. One is slower, one is faster. So Jupiter is the faster planet, Saturn is slower. The rule in astrology is the slower planet will tend to bully the faster planet. The slower planet will body snatch, take over, and seek to control the faster planet. Slower controls faster. Okay? This means that Ptah, Saturn, will try to bully Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is called a nice guy, a benefic. Saturn is called a rough guy. What that means is malefic planets are planets that help you by hurting you. They're not evil, but they will help you by hurting you. You're going to lose something. It's going to sting when a malefic planet is helping you to grow. So Saturn is called a first-rate malefic, meaning you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to aim to hurt you in order to evolve you. Whereas benefics try to help you in order to evolve you. So Saturn is the rough guy, the bad cop, and Jupiter is the nice guy. So we have this conflict of cops, this conflict of methods of teaching. Okay, this implies a tension, an innate tension. So that's the first rule. We're going to have tension. These 20-year seedings have tension around them. Now, in this case, astrologically, Saturn and Jupiter are in the sign of, you can see here, Saturn, Jupiter, they're in Capricorn. Okay? They're in Capricorn. So Saturn is called dignified in Capricorn. At home. He owns Capricorn, so he's at home in Capricorn. It's like you being on your home turf. You know the terrain, you know the land, you know where things are. It's like being in your own house. You're very comfortable there. You know where your dishes are and where your towels are and where your food is. It's very easy for you to flourish in that environment. So Ptah is feeling at home. He's feeling strong. However, Jupiter, called Hirupsetoi, he is not at home there. He, in fact, hates Capricorn. It's called his place of debilitation. Now, debilitation means, it's a very specific meaning in our astrology approach. Debilitation means fallen. It implies that in a past experience, either in this life or in a past life, you once had that planet's things, that planet's powers at a high level of success. Usually, an exalted planet implies that in the past, you conquered that area the planet controls. Often it implies you conquered it through an act of really somewhat aggressive action. And an exalted planet often feels that it's a winner, but it's a bit paranoid. It knows it made enemies along the way of the ladder of success. So it's exalted on its throne, it won the kingdom, but it has a kind of hypervigilance about that planet that's aware that I may have enemies that are mad at me, enemies I overcame on my way to the top. Debilitated means the opposite. I once was king of the world. I once was lord of this subject, lord of this area of life, and from um, I have fallen from grace to grass, as they say. And a debilitated planet has a feeling of, I once was great, but now I'm a loser. I once had it all, and now I'm nothing. It's this strange kind of insecurity that happens with all planets that are debilitated, or what's called fallen. Debilitation is a kind of fall from height. Now, when you have a debilitated planet, you have this insecurity of I once was great, now I'm nothing, and that kind of malaise sets in with Jupiter here. You have to find now a rather non-traditional way to rise with that planet. You can't follow the norm. You can't follow the status quo method of Jupiter in this case. Okay, so we have already tension, a malefic, benefic, good cop, bad cop. We have one of these, the malefic, Ptah, Saturn, he's what's called dignified. He's feeling very conventional. He's feeling very dignified planet means, or in your own sign means, that part of you feels it's got this. I got this. This is easy breezy. I totally understand this situation. Okay? Debilitated means I have fallen from a height and I feel like I'm a loser who was once great. There's kind of nostalgia to the fallen planet. So Jupiter is feeling fallen. Now, there's a rule, a very little known rule about Jupiter in astrology. When he is damaged, be very, very careful. Damaged means debilitated, meaning in the sign of his fall, like Capricorn, in the sign of detriment, which for him would be Virgo and Gemini, when he's retrograding, and when, which is quite shocking to most people, when he's in the sign of Leo. So again, when he's hit by mean planets, by malefics, So if he's hit by malefics, they are Mars, Saturn, Nekabet the north node, Watch at the south node, and a waning moon. If Jupiter is being influenced by those planets, and or if he is in fall, meaning Capricorn, in detriment, meaning Virgo or Gemini, or if he's in Leo, or if he's retrograding, you will have a specific result from those conditions. And they are, whatever you begin during that damage to Jupiter will go awry. The agenda that you intended for Jupiter will turn on you and overturn your boat. It will become something far afield from what your agenda was, and it will not end well. There were some very damaging effects to the Titanic launch with Jupiter. And in that case, Jupiter was saying, whatever you're calling your agenda here, it was the world's most luxurious and fastest ship. That was the agenda, the stated goal. Jupiter made sure, because of his damage, that that goal shall be subverted, inverted, and destructive. So we've got to be very careful now, because Jupiter is in fall, and he's conjunct a bad cop. Now, this bad cop conjunction with Saturn has some redeeming energies, because Saturn is in Capricorn, his own sign. He's at home, he's on home turf, he's what's called dignified. So Jupiter is receiving harsh rays of Saturn, but Saturn is also sending good mood in those harsh rays. So Jupiter receives the harshness of Saturn, but not as harsh as he would normally be, because he's feeling cozy dozy at home. Okay? Now, Jupiter is sending out Jupiterian rays, but his rays are fallen. They are weakened. So Jupiter is sending Jupiter energy to Saturn. Jupiter is a benefic, a nice guy, but he's confused. So Saturn's absorbing Jupiter's nice guy rays, but his nice guy who's confused and a bit cockamamie. So what I'm saying is that the energies fluxing between these two, we call their rays, their aspects, are problematic. Saturn is giving good Saturn rays, but they're also malefic. Jupiter is giving good Jupiter rays, but they're a mess. So Saturn gets Jupiter's hopefulness that becomes foolishness. Because when Jupiter's harmed, you become foolishly hopeful. You become doubtful. And Saturn hitting Jupiter is going to what's called starve Jupiter. When Saturn affects another planet, it's called starvation. He denies satisfaction with that planet. He denies satiation with that planet. He inhibits it. He wants to make sure it doesn't get what it needs. Okay? I'm building up a storyline by explaining to you a kind of tutorial methodology of how I break down chart readings. Okay, so we're getting this idea. So let's make it characters. Haruka Pet Saturn would be the executive, and Jupiter would be the priest. And the priest, let's say Saturn, Haruka Pet Saturn is the disciplinarian, and that Jupiter is more your inner priest, your inner spiritual self. Now, the disciplinarian, Saturn, is feeling strong. He's dignified. Some part of us is feeling that we can become disciplined, we can take control of our lives, but that disciplinarian is receiving foggy Jupiter thoughts, philosophies, theories, beliefs, concepts. Okay? And this will kind of confuse Saturn, confuse your discipline. When Jupiter is harmed like this, what I have seen time after time is that people who are spiritual, people who are on an obvious kind of philosophical or spiritual training, spiritual teachings, turn against foolishly those same teachings. They tend to turn against their spiritual teachers, turn against their spirituality, against their religion, because it's fallen. It's not operating properly. It's making misjudgments, miscalculations. Jupiter, when he's harmed, is a know-it-all who knows nothing. So I have seen over decades, when Jupiter is harmed, people tend to think they don't need a guru, they don't need a spiritual teacher, they don't need the training, they can do what they want. They get all these kind of over-the-top, delusional ideas of their grandness with spirituality, with philosophy, with teachers. Now, Saturn hitting Jupiter means spiritual people want to starve their spirituality. Starvation is not a healthy thing. Okay? So, if you've been having thoughts, okay, my spiritual training is ridiculous, my spiritual method is horrible, or this is a joke, or I can do better, I'm letting you know, do not follow that, because you're making that decision under the influence of a fallen Jupiter, a fallen philosophical thinking, a wrongful philosophy. Now, Saturn means structure, Jupiter means holism, holistic things. So Saturn means a structure, Jupiter is a holistic. So Jupiter conjunct Saturn means we're being challenged to see how structured is the holistic nature of our life. Do we live a structured, holistic lifestyle? This is the main message of every Jupiter-Saturn conjunction through history. It challenges, does your culture have a solid working, holistic model of how to live, how to work on Earth, how to cooperate with all of life? These are called mandalas. These are called medicine wheels. These are called, we call them pa'ut or ma'at udamedut, which are these holistic schemata of the universe, God, and you, and how they all work together as gears. The next thing I wish to mention about Jupiter-Saturn is what stars it's residing in. Okay? So it's in a set of stars called, in Jyotish, Hindu astrology, Uttarashadaka. Uttarashadaka. Uttarashadaka means something like the latter victory. In a nutshell, this set of stars over here in this part of the sky show an elephant standing on ground, not charging, but having charge and having broken down the walls, and now he is holding his ground. This constellation deals with how does one hold victory? How do you maintain a hard-won victory? It implies the person has come in, conquered the land, taken over, and now they have to build upon their victory. Now, how do you build in a way that keeps you on the throne, that keeps your kingdom intact? Yes? So these stars talk about that. And the answer is, let's go to that screen here. The answer would be in this quote: "We must maintain and secure success through cooperatively working together with all people on the planet, even with our enemy. Every being in the forest is important to the forest's success." This is the message of Uttarashadaha. It talks about Jupiter, Saturn, no matter what star they're in, deal with. Jupiter is a holistic mandala, a holistic philosophy, and Saturn is a holistic philosophical blueprint. Okay? The West does not have a blueprint for life. They have blueprint for airplanes, for cars, for toasters, for skyscrapers. But if you ask them, show me the map of how to live my life, they have nothing. If you ask Native Americans, they will give you something. They'll give you a medicine wheel. If you ask Tibetan monks, they'll give you the Tibetan wheels. If you ask Africans, they will give you the table of Ifa. Here we have the Pa'ut, the Ma'at Uja Medut. So it's only the Western cultures. If you ask the Taoist, they will give you the Yi Jing or the five element theory. So it's only the white cultures that lack this map of how to live life, how to live a life properly. And this is the key to the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. Okay? Oftentimes when they conjunct, there is a lot of turmoil in cultures. But the meaning of it is, it's primarily due to not following the structure of your cosmology, of your medicine wheel, of your national mandala, of your sacred structure. When you don't follow that divine structure and Saturn conjuncts Jupiter, the weak chinks in your holistic lifestyle are revealed on a national or global scale. So what this means is the white people who do not have a pa'ut, they don't have medicine wheels as part of their Western culture, it doesn't exist. What this is saying specifically is the white peoples, when Jupiter conjuncts Saturn, must work with people of color in a humble way. That the European countries and the white countries need to, as it says here, we must maintain and secure success through cooperatively working together with all people on the planet, even with our enemy. But again, I'm going to say it for the third time. Jupiter, Saturn, with its conjunct, squaring, quincunx, sextiling, whatever, deals with, do you have a blueprint of a holistic mandala of what is the meaning of life and how to organize your life in harmony with the whole? That's called a mandala. White people don't have this. Therefore, when we have a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, it is the time in history when white people should become humble and ask people of color about their mandalas. These mandalas reveal who is God, why am I here, what is life, what is destiny, what is death, what is the meaning of it all. Because this is called in Jyotish, this nakshatra or the star is called Uttarashara. It's ruled by a set of forces called the Vishva Devas, which in Hindi means all the gods, all the devas, all the Netru, Orishas, or IQs. Okay? We must work together. But you see, Saturn will overwhelm. He's the slower planet. He will overtake the faster planet. The peoples of color have taken the time to do deep research. Saturn owns deep research, deep contemplation, deep thought, deep structured thought on the structure of a divine life on Earth, how it should look, and the map to get there. These are shamanic maps, medicine wheels, mandalas, etc. The white people did not do this. They had other focus on how to build material things. This means the deeper thinking people, those who thought more deeply about the deep architecture of life, should be the ones that lead, that dominate those who did not have that deep philosophical construct. I'm saying this because everything in the forest is important to the forest ecosystem. And unfortunately, not all, but many white cultures have a superiority complex when it comes to people of color, brown and black cultures. And this conjunction is saying the problems that are happening in the world can be addressed and remedied if particularly white nations accept, welcome, and are kind to the suggestions and the teachings of peoples of color and their mandalas. This creates cooperation. This creates all the races working as one. The fall of the white nation is their arrogance. And this Jupiter being debilitated can make you very arrogant, very cocky. I can do this by myself. I don't need those black people, those Native Americans, those brown people. I can do this. You start going that direction and you think it's normal. Or even if you are black, you start thinking, well, my own tradition is not any good. That doesn't work. This is fake. This is false. You start turning against your philosophy. But I'm telling you, if you do that during a damaged Jupiter cycle, where he is debilitated, detrimented, retrograde, combust, or hit by malefics, the decision you make to insult, turn against your teachers, your healthy training in spirituality, your spiritual path, if you turn against it during these Jupiter damaged windows, you will end up like a turtle on its back that can't turn over. Where it will lead you will be someplace that will become exactly the opposite of where you thought you were going. The same with the Titanic thought it would be the biggest ship and it can't be sunk. Well, guess what? It was sunk in the most horrible ways. Now, Jupiter is called the Guru in India, the Guru planet. The word for Jupiter is Guru, the great teacher. And in astrology, Jupiter has a lot of power in the chart. He has more power than any other planet because he influences what I call vitamins. He's what's called an indicator or karaka in Jyotish for many things in a chart. Okay, he's a karaka for second, indicator for second house of money and family, exalted in the fourth, indicator for the fifth, indicator for the seventh, indicator for the 10th, owner of the ninth, owner of the 12th. About 7 houses they have a strong Jupiter power. So when you cross Jupiter, when you annoy that part of the universe, it can rebound in over half of your chart, and 7 out of 12 parts of your life will start to upturn and capsize. Okay? No one's discussed this meaning of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction as the call for white people to humbly, it's the time, they should humbly hold conference with peoples of color and discuss world issues and say, from your cosmology, from your mandalas, from your teachings, what's happening? How can we do better? What should we learn? And if that's done, it brings together the races, the nations, the traditions, and we begin to work together. This is particularly powerful in Uttarashadaha because all the gods must work as one. All the parts of the forest must be included in the council. If the forest is having dangers, all parts of the forest must be included in the council of helping. Now, in Jyotish, they say these Vishvadevas, meaning all the gods, all the devas, but sometimes in the scriptures of Jyotish, they say there are 33 major deities, and sometimes they say there are 10. When I saw these numbers immediately, when I was studying Jyotish, I recognized them immediately. 33 and 10. Those are numbers you see in Kabbalah. Kabbalah has 33 paths and 10 spheres. Now, also in India, there's a system called the Dasha Mahavidyas. The 10, Dasha means 10, Maha means great, Vidyas means uh, downloads, databases, information, wisdom bringers. Okay, I call them the 10 great cosmic downloads. Okay, the 10 great computer chips, so to speak. They are these 10 goddesses who are 10 parts of one great goddess. So they're not separate, they're one goddess with 10 faces to her, 10 sides of her. So I studied the 10 sequence of the Vishvadevas, and there are these 10 traits here, these 10 gods of the Vishvadevas in the 10 count. Okay, one's called Vasu. Vasu means material possessions, or it can mean consciousness, attention. And this links to the Kabbalah tree, the tree of life, what I call the mountain of God, to sphere 1. We call Osar in Egypt, Obatala in Yoruba, and Tara in India, and to the Ajna chakra. The second one is called Madravas, rejoicing. It's sphere 2 of the tree. We call Sobagnit, Orumila, or Chinnamasta in India, and the Guru chakra. The third Vishvadeva is called Driti, which means patience. This is sphere, this cursor is having a mind of its own here. Sphere 3, we call Pata in Egypt, Babaluaye in Yoruba, Kali in Dravidia, India, called Kalunga in the Congo, and it's your Nirvana chakra. Then there's a god called Satya, which means truth or realness. I link it to sphere 4, we call Sefkara Bhut in Egypt, Ella in Yoruba, Lakshmi in India, the Indu chakra. Next is Kratu, method. Links to sphere 5, Herkohuti in Egypt, Ogun, Yoruba, Bagalamuk in India, Hindu chakra. Next is called Daksha, which means expertise or ritual skill. Sphere 6, we call Heru, Egypt, Shango in Yoruba, Bhuvaneshwari in India, the Hrit chakra. Kama is another of the Vishvadevas, which means desire, longing, or inspiration. We call that sphere 7, Sesheta or Bas in Egypt, Oshun, Yoruba, Tripura Sundari in India, Manas chakra. Kala, which means details, we call sphere 8, Sebek in Egypt, Eshu in Yoruba, Matangi in India. This will be Kwekwananse in Akan, sphere 8, and Manas chakra. Pururavas, which means laments, is sphere 9. We call As in Egypt, Yemanja in Egypt, in Yoruba, Duhumavati in India. Sphere 9 and the Visarga chakra. The 10th Vishvadeva is called Kuru, which means action. We call it sphere 10's Geb in Egypt, Aganjun Yoruba, Baharaivi in India. And it links to the 5 elemental chakras, the root chakra, sexual chakra, navel, heart, and throat chakras. What's the point of all this? Notice that with each of these lines, I have a planet. So we're having Saturn conjunct Jupiter. Saturn is Vritti, patient, sphere 3, Pata Kali, Nirvana chakra. Jupiter is the second sphere, Chinamasta, Urmila, as well as the fourth sphere of Lakshmi, Ela, and the Indu chakra. So when these planets conjoin, their chakras are interphasing. So your Guru chakra and your Indu chakra, owned by Jupiter, here Guru, Jupiter is Guru, Jupiter is Indra, and Saturn is Nirvana chakra. Now, you may not have heard of these chakras. I teach a whole class on chakras called Capitalistic Kemet, using your chakras to make bank, to make money. If you wish to know more about that, you can contact us. I'll leave a link below in the description. We work with these chakras to turn your spiritual power into economic force. But when Jupiter and Saturn are conjuncting, two chakras are interphasing. They're sending arcs of energy to each other. They're talking. They're in some kind of dialogue of energies. In order for that to be successful, when they're in Uttarashadaha, they must be disciplined to hearing the holistic voice of the forest, all people. These 10 gods mean, how do you maintain success? How do you sustain your victory? Well, the first one, Vasu, says you've got to pay attention. Madravat's rejoicing says you're going to have moments of victory. Dhriti means you must be patient when you're trying to sustain a victory, sustain a success. Satya means you must keep it truthful. Truth must be between all the people in the room. Kratu, method. You have to have a method of working as a team. Daksha, you must work with experts in their field in various needs of the cooperative venture. Kama, we must be inspired to work together for the whole, for the community. Kala, detail. We must not ignore the details of communication in particular. Pururavas, lament. We will lose some things. We must let some things go, particularly the ego, the ninth sphere, Dhumavati, the widow. And Kuru, action. We must take action, not just talk, but we must take action. Geb, Aganju. These are the 10 things you need to work as a team. The key to Uttarashadaha is behind all of our differences, we have the same needs. We're all the same people, really. White people want the same things that black people want, that Native American people want, that Eskimos want, that Asians, we all want the same basic things in life. So in this nakshatra, this conjunction is saying we have to understand the golden rule. Do unto others as you wish unto you. White people would not like it if they were ignored and told you're inferior and you have no voice. But black people don't have a history. We have no chronicled history of deriding white people that way, of denying them their existence, their traditions, their religion, but they have a history of doing that to black people. Therefore, that's why I say, with no malice, it's just we have to deal with this. White people have to stop being arrogant, particularly during conjunctions of Saturn and Jupiter. They must become humble and say, we don't know everything. No one person knows everything. We need to learn from our spiritual masters, our gurus, those who spent more time deep Saturn, deep investigation, into the divine blueprint of life. If that happens, then the political, sociological, environmental issues that will be triggered inevitably by a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction can be greatly mitigated by the wisdom, the powers, the magic of the peoples of color. Okay? So that's basically what I wanted to share today about this conjunction. It's an angle not taken in astrology. I, as I mentioned in the beginning, don't normally want to go in this direction of revealing really um, what this could mean, because people can get quite upset over it. But I felt that it was important to remind you, people of color do have more advanced spiritual systems, the same way that white people have more advanced technological systems. People of color have no problem acknowledging the fact that white people have perfected, developed extraordinary technical advances. But white people as a group, not all white people, but generally as a group, and historically we have the receipts, tend to think down on the technologies, the spiritual technologies, the psychological technologies of people of color. We have a window now, an opportunity for the white people to earn the respect and the heartfelt warmth of people of color who have been brutalized historically by many white groups. If they could at this time come and say, we apologize, you have things to offer that we don't, you are better at certain things than we are, and it's our time to bend the knee and humbly sit at the feet of our black and brown masters and learn from them. And then take back what they've said and try to bring it into some kind of structure and optimism for white people. If this is done, we'd have a lot less problems during these returns, these conjunctions, and their cycles. So, in the last couple of days, Saturn and Jupiter conjuncted, but they will move, forming a circle from this position. So, if it's a 20-year cycle, that means in 10 years, it'll be opposite. So, Jupiter will be opposite Saturn. And in 5 years, it'll be quartered. Jupiter will be at a quarter position from this conjunction. So we have these four stations, the conjunction, the first quarter, the opposite, and the second quarter. And that'll be what happens. So at these quarter points, in 5 years from now, 10 years, 15, and 20, will be major events that were birthed at this conjunction this week. Major turning points, major manifestations will come out at those stations, those 4, 5, 10, 15, and 20-year points. Okay? So, the last thing I wish to say is African astrology is not just talking, it's ritual, it's ritualistic. When I deal with a lot of white astrologers, they focus a lot on the talking about the chart. There's very little alchemical remedying of the chart. They don't give any real remedies, or what we say in Yoruba ashes. It's just more, I talk to you, talk to you, talk to you, and hopefully my talking to you will change your ways or change your scenario. This is what I mean. People of color understand that it's not talk that changes people, it's energy. It's energy. So there are certain things one can use, certain sounds we use with Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn will be kring, Jupiter will be hung. And we can use for Saturn black sesame seeds, and Jupiter we can use lotus pods or lotus seeds. And we visualize certain things on certain dates at certain hours. And we do certain dance movements because the body must be part of the prayer. The body must be part of the ritual. You just can't sit there and ritualize and not move because you must be holistic. The body wants to be part of the ritual, part of the fun, part of the party. So by working with these sounds, kring and hung, particularly if you're white and you burn a little bit of lotus oil and some black sesame seeds on a charcoal briquette, and you the sounds kring and hung will activate your kring nirvana chakra, yes, your nirvana chakra, and your hung guru and Indu chakras. And if you visualize yourself sitting at the feet of people of color with love, humility, and open heartedness, and you let your heart receive their true counsels to you, and you absorb that, you digest that, then we can all work together to save this planet, to end hunger, to work with children who are abused or who are abandoned. We can all work together. But if white people come with arrogance and condescension, and I don't need this, and I can do this, and I can do better, all of that, it's insulting. It's insulting. So people of color aren't apt to share. You can't come to tea with a full cup. So I speak mostly to the white community who hears my videos. I love all people because we're all part of the same forest. We are all here together. That's the way it is. But we must come toward each other with respect, with acknowledging of the past. I'm not saying that you have to mea culpa and whip yourself until you're bleeding on the back, but one must acknowledge my ancestors did some nasty things to black people, to Native Americans. We've been nasty. And today I benefit from what they stole. I have a house in America or in Canada or in Mexico. Those were owned by people of color. I haven't returned the house that my great great grandfather's slavery got me access to, or the resources that I got access to. So I'm benefiting from really the bad behavior of my ancestors. So I can either give back my land to the Native Americans, give them my property, or at the very least, listen to them in a respectful, kind manner and act like I'm contrite of what my people did. I don't have to follow what my people did. I can make right by what they did, make amends for what they did. And the first step I'll do is come towards the people of color as a student, as humble. You have no idea, my white brothers and sisters, what that act will do for world unity, race relations, and the planet. Because now we can use all of our talents because we're feeling loved, we're feeling respected, we're all feeling honored. When we feel loved, we start sharing, we start prospering, we start blooming, and we start flowing. So I'm saying this not to be harsh and not to beat up people, but I need to check the white people to say, listen, you come from ancestors that were not nice, who were brutal, vicious, and cruel to people of color around the world, stole their lands and ruined their languages and their cultures. But I acknowledge that. And at the least what I can do is be humble and understand that these people of color still have held on, despite all of this torture, to their spiritual wisdoms, which my people are no match for. So I come humbly with love and respect, contrition, and renewal. Teach us, help ourselves, and help the world. This would do wonders for the planet. Okay? So that wraps up the true meaning of any Saturn-Jupiter connection, whether it's conjunction, sextile, trine, quincunx, whatever, but especially the conjunction. It's more powerful than because it's the seeding of a new cycle of 20 years. Okay? And this I feel is very appropriate at this time. Today's December 24th, which is the eve of the end of the solstice. Many people are celebrating in festival ways around the world. And this is the true meaning of may there be peace on earth. This is my Christmas present, my Kwanzaa present, my solstice present, um, my Hanukkah present, my winter solstice present to the world. That this configuration, if we play it right, if we respect heaven's message, we can actually bring the reality of peace on earth. Do not turn against your spiritual teachers. Do not turn against um, your mandalas. Do not turn against your divine philosophy. Don't do it because you're being tricked by Jupiter being debilitated and starved. Stick with your training, stick with your teacher, stick with your philosophy, stick with your guru. Okay? Work through whatever you're feeling weird about. Work it out. Because Uttarasharaha means victory. You will conquer, but you'll need help. Vishvadevas, you need the help of a team, of a community, of more than just yourself. Vishvadevas, all the gods, all the things in the forest. Okay? So I wish to thank you for your time, wishing you a wonderful conjunction and a wonderful last day of the 2020 winter solstice. It's been a very challenging year, 2020, and hopefully in the end we can come out of this situation more brothers, more sisters, more loving, and more cooperative. So remember, no matter what happens in life, always look up. Why? Because you truly are a star. Dwawend Hotepu.